Okay. It's remarkable that it's our 7th week, Baruch Hashem. Our 7th week together, thinking about Likutey Halachos, thinking about what Rebbe Noson and Rebbe Nachman are trying to share with us. Working on avoda. I was thinking how to open tonight. I want to share something from my Rebbe Rav Gurzy. This is real Masorah right now. This is like it's geschmack. I remember when he introduced me not in reality, meaning I never met him because he was nifter, but he shared with me about Reb Elazar Mordechai Koenig. He was nifter a few years ago. It's kedai to look him up on YouTube and to look at pictures of him, how he was. This was a beautiful Jew, Mamish. And one of the things that I've been speaking with Rav Gurzy about is sometimes I feel this urgency, like I'm not doing enough, And we balance this tension of like urgency and presence of being. And so he was sharing with me about Rav Koenig and how even when Rav Koenig was giving shuir, apparently there were moments where he would stop and just sort of take it in. He was sharing with me if he would be learning an avoda sefer. Like we're learning an avoda sefer. We're learning a sefer about how to live, how to think, how to be, and how he would read a little bit in the sefer, and then he would sit back. And Rav Gurzy said he would chill. He would chill. He would take it in. And the point that Rav Gurzy was making is that the Mechaber is trying to take us on a journey into the sefer, trying to take us on a journey. We like to consume a lot of stuff. Physically we like to consume. Even in our Torah, to a certain degree, we consume it.
I got it next.
Yeah, exactly. Weiter, And there is an Indian of Bekiyas, but Bekiyas doesn't mean, not quality. But it was like when I was reading the first Os last week, and I was giving what I was going through that last week, and I allowed it to hit me. Ki isa b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal, kisha adam maschil lechapesh la'atzmo, ro'eh shehu rechok me'od me'Hashem Yisrach, v'umali chata'im u'gamim arbe, v'nidmalo shehu rechok me'tov, azehu tzarich lechapesh u'levakesh v'limsoa b'atzmo ezetov, ki eich evshar shelo asa ezetov miyamav. Amish, you could spend years saying that over and over again. I'm so taken by this image of Rav Koenig sitting back as he's learning his sefer, allowing that concept, that idea to perfuse him. And it's an aspect of our avoda. Is when we're in the Lashonos of Reb Noson, we are not trying to rush through the sefer. We're trying to change our lives. That's what we're trying to do. And I heard Reb Joy Roosevelt say in a recent shiur, either in his new series of shiurim on the Mittler Rebbe, or in his shiur from on Rav Itchemeyer, Entering the Sea of Wisdom. In one of those two shiurim, he mentioned the idea that when you approach a piece of Chassidus, and maybe this could be extracted to any piece of Torah, but he was talking about Chassidus in general, that what I'm about to read is I can't live without it. I literally can't live without what I'm about to read in this sefer. This idea is going to save my life, and it's true, because this is an idea that can save your life. Different way of experiencing reality. And as we go into our piece today, and you're like, gosh, he said this already like 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw in the Hagdama, Reb Noson's Hagdama into Likutey Halachos, he's like, you might think that I'm repeating myself, and he's like, he bevorns the kasha, and he says, you should know, like, number one, it's like the ideas need to be stitched and strengthened and woven in. And he said, even, yeah, maybe I'll read it. He was like, even that's not enough. Even the points where you think I'm being too masbir, it's not enough. It's a remarkable thing.
It's not like a suggestion that we can just, pass along.
Now, though it may be seen to the reader that in many places I've been wordy, going over the same point 2 or 3 times, know, dear reader, that this too is from Hashem, who is wonderful in counsel and exceedingly wise. Anyone who focuses his heart to truly study the Rebbe's incomparable teachings, which are deeper than the greatest depths and wider than the sea, and then focuses well on these new insights and explanations of those teachings that Hashem has graciously granted me to reveal, will understand well that considering their astounding profundity, I have yet to adequately clarify them. This is the case even when I've explained the matter at considerable length, and certainly in those instances where I was concise. Know that all the teachings the Rebbe can revealed are entirely new Hagdamot, though they are all based on mitzvot of the Torah received long ago. They are nevertheless completely original introductory principles. They are all present, wonderful advice and guidance for how to get close to Hashem, each person from whatever spiritual level he's on. This is about Hashem. We're going to talk more about that tonight. We're in Os Vav, Hashkamas HaBoker, Likutey Halachos, Halachah Alef. Nimsa, Sheikar Bechines, Zorus, Hashena Hu Alidei, Hanekudos Tovah, Shemotzim Ba'atzmo. It follows that the essence of the concept of awakening from that spiritual slumber comes about through the good points that a person finds in himself, and pay attention to the Lashonos here. Because it's a different Lashon than we've seen previously. Osvav. Afilu keshu chas v'shalom b'medrega haktatona b'od v'chulei kanal. Even when he's on a very low spiritual level, God forbid. Ayidei na'isim negunim v'chulei kanal. So before he was saying Poshe Yisrael, sinners of Israel. Now he's saying in this lashon of a person on a low level, and nevertheless, afilu keshu chas v'shalom b'medrega haktatona ma'od. He's going to make negunim from that place. It's mechazik the idea. No matter where I am, I could sing. No matter where I am in my avodas Hashem, I can make negunim from my nekuda tovos. And I think this is a theme in Rebbe Nachman's teachings. Not that I've only seen some teachings. But there's no place, there's no moment that is without the need for me to serve Hashem. And even in those places where I'm like, I'm not really thinking about Hashem. Somehow, some way, if I can awaken myself and realize that even here, wherever that place might be, Ki balayla shuvazman hashena, azayat shechina mevareres berurim ki yudua. But during the night, the time assigned for sleep, the Shechina then performs birurim, and we're being introduced to the Indian of birur, raising the sparks of holiness that have fallen among the klipot. This is Indian. We're going to just say it very briefly because it's a Kabbalistic concept, and I'm a lay person, so but there's an idea of breaking of the vessels, and so to speak, these sparks get, the tzotzos kedusha get trapped within this world and our job. And Rebbe Gerza used this lashon often of, our avoda is to release and ascend these tzotzos kedusha. And these tzotzos kedusha exist at sort of every level, every iteration of reality, from physical reality to our emotions, to our thoughts. So when you think good thoughts, like we're trying to develop here, we're actually on a Kabbalistic level, we're releasing these nitzotzos kedusha, and we're having them sort of ascend back up to their source, from my simple understanding of this concept. So it's about, as Rav Gerzi has mentioned to me before, about upgrading the quality of our consciousness. Upgrading the quality of our consciousness, which is the whole, I think, one of the main ikarim over here in this and what we're doing, because we're talking about how to think. Rebbe Nachman of Breslov are inviting us into the experience of upgrading the quality of our consciousness. How do I think about myself? How do I think about other people? How do I think about Klal Yisrael? How do I think about life in general? Like Rav Dav Cohen says, focus on the good, grow from the bad. Right? These are all iterations and developments in upgrading the quality of our consciousness. Because if it left to our own devices, we just sort of sink into our sort of baser, I'm speaking for myself, our baser thoughts. And it's effort and it's work to be like, bidafka, being mavakesh, that nekuda tova. I'll tell you a maisa that happened literally over the Shabbos, which demonstrates this idea. I went to North Woodmere, to Kodesh, beautiful shul. And the nigunim, it was like, it felt like an Eretz Yisrael Dika davening. There's a part of me that was sad, because where paradoxically I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. I was so plugged in, but part of me was sad because I felt that there's room to grow in our community in terms of a Shabbos, Kabbalat Shabbat like that. Later on, we're having our Suda, and we're in a very special person's home. We're a woman who's been through difficulties in life, and she was our hostess for this Shabbos. And I'm sort of talking about this amazing experience of Kodesh, and then I sort of juxtapose it with the experience I had at one of the shuls, where I think I told this Maisa before, where these two guys were talking during the Chadudi, right? People were not talking during the Chadudi in this meeting. They were mamish plugged in. It was an achdus and a feeling of unity that was really, really special. And oh gosh, it's really something else. And I make this comment about how there's these guys, at shul that were talking in the Chadudi, and she said to me, she goes, that's where they're at. That's where they're at. I was like, here we are in our Zamra Chabura, our Likutey Halachos Chabura. We're focusing on the Zamra and working on this. And here I am talking about, this beautiful experience, and then sort of, not focusing on the good. Having kashas on these guys. Like, what's the deal? Get with the programs. She says, that's where they're at. It's Bechina Nikuda Tova. I said, this is, I forget exactly what I said. I referenced in Likutey Halachos how Rebbe Nachman says, and Reb Noson brings down, you're not going to help somebody grow if you're pointing out where they're flawed. He says, Meforish, you want someone to come back closer to Hashem and tshuva, you focus on their good. You focus on their good. Even these guys. They came to shul, Baruch Hashem. They're sichas chaverim. Mechaziking each other, whatever it might be. It's really frustrating because during the okay. That's where they're at. How many people in life you meet? that's where they're at. We have to say that that's where they're at. Because otherwise you're going to be very frustrated. I was like, this is definitely a meister for the year. Important to say. And when we tap into that, so that was an opportunity of upgrading my quality of consciousness. And she said, it took me years to get to that point. It took a long time to get to that point of seeing people that way. I was like, okay, we got work to do. Okay, weiter here. So we're raising up the holiness that have fallen among the klipot, as is known in Kabbalistic teachings. And this is an amazing nekuda here. The Rizal teaches in Shar Kavonos, Drushe HaLaila, that at night the Shekhinah descends into the lower worlds in order to elevate the souls, these are the Netzotzot, that as a result of mankind's sins fall even deeper into the realm of impurity and evil. So there's a tekufa in the nighttime where the Shekhinah comes down. It's going to be like rehabilitate because it's these neshamas, these Netzotzot, Kedusha, to upgrade them up. This is like this. This act of spiritual refinement is analogous to playing music, which involves separating the good notes from the bad notes to create a beautiful melody. So too is spiritual birurim, which entails selecting the good ruach from the ruach of gloom and despair. There's hints to what discussed above, namely that when the spiritual aspect of sleep, which corresponds to the dark of night, overcomes a person, is precisely then he must seek and search in order to find good points in himself. Through this act of birur, of refining the good points concealed in darkness, he will make up from his sleep. He will wake up from his sleep, as mentioned above. And so we're seeing this sort of parallelism, this parallel connection between the Shekhinah, so to speak, coming down and being Mavara, the Nekuda Tovos, or the Netzotzos Kedusha, and we ourselves doing this, descending into ourselves to be Mavara, the Nekuda Tovos, from all the blackness and the darkness, whatever, and to upgrade and uplift those Nekuda Tovos. V'zeh Bechinas Eskara Leginisi B'Layla Im Livnei Asicha V'Chapesh Ruchi. This is alluded to in the verse. I recall my melody in the night. I commune with my heart, and my ruach searches. Shebalayla b'choshek b'hinei shena. Az im levivi esicha v'chabesh ruchi. In the spiritual night and darkness, which are characteristic of sleep, that is when I commune with my heart and my ruach searches. She'ani mechabesh ma'avesh l'ruach netova b'chin zekuda tova. Aydezeh nasim negudim kanal. I search for and seek out that good ruach, which corresponds to the good point, and through this melodies are made, as mentioned above. Bechinas is kara v'neginasi b'layla b'kanal. This being the meaning of I recall my melody in the night, as mentioned above. I had a matzav yesterday. I did a nursing group. At the end of the group, I had people go around, share the Nekuda Tovos. This is how far we are. So a woman that had severe trauma as a child. Severe. So she says sadness. That was her Nekuda Tova, sadness. We know Rebbe Nachman says to run away from sadness. I said, okay, tell me more. And she says that when she sees things in the world that are painful, she feels for them. So he said, I want to exchange a word with you. I want to maybe put another word there. How do you feel about sensitivity? Or we could say empathy. And she was masking to that. She was masking to that. It was so interesting that was her response. So even her Nekuda Tova was colored in that negative space because of her life experiences. But we took that concept of sadness and we broke it open and said, no, what's at the core of what you're trying to say? Sensitivity. That's the avodah what we're trying to do. Take any experience. Like we can extract that out. We think about I had a patient today where he was complaining for the past 2 or 3 days. He was complaining of his feet hurting. So in psych, we're not necessarily so hands-on. So I was like, okay, we give him like a Motrin or something. So today, finally, told me that he felt like his feet were swollen. So for the first time in a couple of days, I looked at his feet. I was like, oh my gosh, they're swollen. And he's like, I've been complaining about this for 2 days. Like now we're doing it. Like, he got very upset. And I was like, why didn't I check it out 2 days earlier? Like, come on, it's like a basic nursing task to check it out. So now in the back of my mind, I'm like, I gotta zamrify this, because normally what I do is beat up on myself because I didn't, maybe I should have whatever. And you have to, and it's like an avodah to be even that experience, be just trying to find all the Likutey Tovos in the avodah of being a nurse and the good work that we're trying to do. It's like, okay, so one thing that maybe could have been a little bit better, it doesn't make or break, but what happens is we hone in on that negative thing and we blow it up, we catastrophize it, then it becomes black and white. There's no room for nuance. And it's like, oh, I'm terrible. It's like, no, it's okay. You're not terrible. You're a human being. You're learning. You're growing. Okay, you're in psych. You're not in med surg floor. Maybe if you're med surg, you'll be more primed for it. It's okay. Don't have to get defeated over here. So you can take anything and you'll be like, okay, let me search and break it open and find, draw out that good. You machazik yourself with that stuff. And then you make beautiful music. Because you're misameach yourself. You make yourself happy. I'm still good. Even when I make my, it's not, and by the way, this is not about negating where we mess up. We have to take ownership. But maybe the barometer is that, it's you want to approach everything from a healthy place. So Rebbe Nachman says, get into simcha first, and then we'll look at it. Why is this Gabir, this Oram Mishnaso? In addition to a spiritual awakening, discovering what's good points, also helps a person pray. Okay, this is done by a person's overcoming the desire for sleep to wake himself up from his slumber. For the primary tikkun of prayer comes by virtue of the good points that he finds in himself. It is because the essence of prayer, namely its rectification and descent, is only when a person merits to find the good points he still has inside himself. Every say you say this in Pesukei de Zimra, it'll be different now. You're like, Hashem, I'm going to sing to you with what I have left, that little morsel of good inside of me. Here it is, it's a Peladic thing. I'm singing to you with this little piece of good. All the stuff that I do, but Hashem, this Likutey Tova. Hashem's like, yeah, Geshmak, more of that stuff. And as Rabbi Yaakov posted in the chat from a quote of Reb Gershenfeld, where he's talking about tshuva from positivity versus tshuva from negativity, and he's like, no. You have to look at yourself in a positive way. That's what's going to be mechayu. That's what's motivating. Not when I'm like, oh gosh, I'm just, I'm a wreck, man. Is that going to energize the Rolls Royce engine inside of you? No. You're beautiful, you're amazing, you're special. Like Rav Daver Cohen will say, it's like, really, you're a beautiful, amazing, glowing, shining neshama. That's like, yeah, thank you. I said this to a patient, mamish today, not that, but I was mechazik him in that he's a beautiful person. And no one's said that to him ever in his life. That that we're trying to mechazik this inyan of that you're beautiful. There's good inside of you, and that idea of a diamond in the rough. Okay, fine. The diamond is covered over. You're still a diamond. Still a diamond. Okay, the diamond has schmutz on it. Welcome to the human experience. But make no mistake, there's a shining, rock-solid diamond there. And the avoda of life is to be megali that diamond, that shine of the diamond. What's the shine of the diamond? Your nekuda tovos, your strengths, who you are, your unique avoda in this world. Now, for other people, these ideas, like for us, thank God, we're getting familiar. But for other people, these are pelitic ideas. It's like shocking. His mama started to cry, not because just because of the idea itself. So anyone ever has a kasha on you from Breslov? Breslov. Say no. And Nachman he's Netzach, Indian Netzach, eternal. And you'll find all you need, all the ideas which are mechazik in these teachings.
Earlier today, I was having a conversation with somebody. It must have been 2 hours ago at most. And one of the conversations that came up is that, we never really know. We have to figure out for ourselves what exactly our mission is. What is it, what we're here to do, here to fix, or so on and so forth. And he starts listing the things that he's good at. And I turned to him and I said, that's absolutely beautiful. Those are your gifts. Those aren't your challenges. We're not supposed to swim downstream. We're supposed to swim upstream. You're supposed to use your gifts to identify your to solve your challenges, but you're supposed to solve your challenges, not just stay in the waters where you're comfortable.
Right.
With that being said, and this brings me to a thought that I was having on my way here, the more challenged you are, the more gifted you are, because Hashem doesn't do these things without balance. So if we find ourselves feeling that we're immensely challenged, we also have to consider that must mean that we're immensely gifted, and it's up to us to figure out where, so that we can solve our challenge.
You were mechavan at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Mamish, you were mechavan at the beginning of this year when we quoted Likutey Halachos, Hashkamas, HaBoker, Os, Hey, I believe, which is my own limud in Likutey Halachos beyond this one, where Reb Noson says, B'dafka what you're saying.
Baruch Hashem.
He said, B'dafka what you're saying, where he said, and he's bringing psukim from Tehillim. You can listen to the beginning of the shir, Bezrat Hashem, but basically the idea that if you find that you are experiencing incredible taivas, bilbo, whatever that is, to know that it's a simon that your neshama is mamish a very high neshama.
That's beautiful. I couldn't be here. Somebody needed me, so Hashem brought the share to me.
Yeah, so you got to the point. It's beautiful. Hashkacha pratis, mavish. Seder tefillah. This finding and refining of the good points is alluded to in the order of the Shachris tefillah. Shibechila omrim, this will transform our tefillah. Shibechila omrim korbanos u'ketorah shehen mechinas berurim. At the beginning of Shachris, we recite the korbanos and the ketoras. These passages about the animal incense offerings, these are themselves manifestations of the concept of berurim. Shemotzi mavarim in the kudas tovas the field bechinas behemos betachlis asiya ki yedua. That is our finding and refining of our good points, i.e., the fallen sparks of holiness, even from the lowly aspect of the animalistic desires from the nethermost level of the world of asiya, as is known from the world of Kabbalah. Ki yizay ikar bechinas korban la'alos behemel adam. For this is the primary aspect of the korban, namely to elevate the fallen sparks of Kedusha from the level animal to the level of man. And this bureau of the good points also relates to the Ketora's incense offering, which included among its ingredients is the foul-smelling chalbana. The hainush, mevari, motzim, atov, afilo, peposhe Yisrael, vilchinas, chalbana. In other words, the Ketorah signifies our finding and our refining the good, even in Jewish sinners, who are likened to the Chalbana. This is similar to what Chazal learned from this. They said any prayer that does not also include the prayers of the Jewish sinners is not a suitable prayer. For the essence of prayer is the aspect of its Ketorah's dimension. It's achieved by finding and refining the good points, even in Jewish sinners, who are represented by the Chalbana as mentioned above. And this is also the significance of the 11 spices of the Ketorah. That is, it was comprised of 10 fragrant spices aside from the Chalbana. This corresponds to the 10 types of melody, which are made by refining and finding the good in Jewish sinners who are themselves the aspect of the 11th ingredient, the chavana. And I wrote a note here that as Jews we're concerned about everybody. Our efforts, our avoda, involve helping everybody come back to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Afilo posei Yisrael. We're all, to some degree or another, have what to work on. It's that Indian that I am responsible. I am my brother's keeper in a healthy way. It's tefillah that we daven for each other. And lamaisa, when a person needs something, reminds me of the teaching thing of the Gemara. Maybe it's, no, I think it was this past week's parsha, where your friend that has done you wrong, whatever, his carriage breaks down. You're not going to help him. You're not going to help him. That was his, yeah. And it's counterintuitive. Because every ounce of our being doesn't want to do it. It's like we could say it's a beautiful idea, and we can cognitively recognize that. But when push comes to the shove, when the rubber hits the asphalt in the guf, it's hard.
Well, specifically, if I remember correctly, that the pasuk refers to if somebody is with a donkey and the donkey is overburdened, you have to stop and you have to help him unload the donkey. But we also understand that the donkey is also representative of the physical aspects of humanity. Like we see that Abraham got up and he saddled his donkey. He mastered himself and he went to go.
Right.
So what that pasuk is also actually saying, as we're discussing here, is that if you see one of your friends is suffering on a spiritual level, or even somebody who's not your friend, you see
Right.
somebody who's harmed you, and they're suffering spiritually, you bring them back to Hashem and you heal them.
Yeah.
I believe it says you have to help them before you help your friend.
Right. And I wonder also, this idea just came to me right now. It's not, I don't know if it's sourced anywhere, it just literally came to me. In a similar vein, just like you have to heal or reach out to that person that maybe not be your friend, before your friend. I was thinking of maybe how that avoda applies to oneself, to have that compassion towards the parts of yourself that you're not friends with yet. And to offer that hand. I have a coaching client, and I wanted him to, he's a part of him that, he's a voice inside of him that's so, it's not a healthy voice. Not a healthy voice. It's a very mean voice. It's a destructive voice. And I suggested an exercise where, what would happen if you tried to, with compassion, talk to that person inside of you. Like, hey, I know you're hurting. It's okay, let's get a coffee together, But to engage in a certain dialogue from the wise self, from that healed self to the voices or the aspects of our being which require some rehab. Not to let those voices run amok in our minds and take control and wheel us around, but to actually approach those parts of ourselves with that compassion, even if it's scary, and even if we don't know what's going to emerge from it, but that puts us back in the driver's seat, and to look at eyes of compassion towards those parts of ourselves that we don't like so much. Because those parts come from somewhere. I heard someone say today, I was talking to someone today, there's a person that's very big in the addiction world, I don't remember his name, Mate, something like that, big person in the addiction world, where he says, like, all addiction comes from trauma. Most of my patients severe trauma. You know. So okay, that gives context around where it comes from, where the pathological behavior comes from. So we can have eyes of compassion instead of eyes of judgment. And to do the things that we can to help support a person to A, realize that they're good, that they're beautiful, that they're a diamond in the rough, help them actually manifest that and megala that in the world. Bezrat Hashem. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Also, I've heard that, like, when a person's being mean to themselves, usually it means that they're not focused on what they have, because they're thinking about what's wrong,
Yeah.
and that's where all of it comes from, especially when it's tied to past trauma, because then it can present itself in really sly ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And the way to combat that is by being grateful.
Nice. Speak more about that.
Like, just really thinking about what you have and reflecting on that and focusing only on that and what you have and what's going well instead of what's not going the way you want it to.
Yeah. It's a beautiful point. Mamish. It was worth coming this year just to hear that point. That's $1 million point. Worth price of admission of this year. I say that joke all the time to my patients. I was like, what price of it? They're like, okay, your insurance is covering it, fine. Medicaid, whatever. Yeah, that's a choice that we have. It's like that glass half empty, glass half full.
But the choice has to go all the way down to the identity level of the person.
Yes.
You can't just stay in a superficial action level. It has to go the person deeper and then kind of grow back up once it's planted there.
Yeah. That's also, it was worth coming this year just to hear that point too.
I was thinking about this donkey thing, right? And like, if from the first page, you know, even the bad stuff is actually good. So maybe we're supposed to be like, we need to find the good in the donkey too.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah,
we said like
yeah.
the other people are,
Yeah.
or I forget the word that's used, but we're bringing up the what is it?
Yeah.
Chabena.
Chabana, yeah.
We also have the chalbana,
Yeah.
like you said. It's about us too. We need to be nice to that part of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we should find it in the Kudatova and like in the chalbana
Yeah.
herself.
Exactly.
There's a famous Gemara where students are walking with their Rebbe and they see the carcass and
Right.
he goes, how white are its teeth?
Yeah,
The student's
exactly.
like, oh, it smells, it's dirty, disgusting. He goes, no, look, how white are its teeth? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
What a way to end.
Mhm.
Bezrat Hashem, we should be zocha and be matzliach in upgrading the quality of our consciousness and connecting to the nukuda tovos in ourselves and other people and life itself, that we ourselves can become beacons of or, and to take this light of Rebbeinu Kodesh, take this light of Reb Noson Zal, and to express that in a healthy way. Bezrat Hashem, till next time.
Amen.